Okay, getting set for Game 2 with Orange head coach Scott Shafer. It's off to MAC country this week, Coach, as you know, off to Central Michigan. We'll get into that in a bit, but you got to be a little bit of a fan like the rest of us this week.
Yeah.
Watch the Ithaca win over Union, and I'll bet you enjoyed the Villanova-Fordham score, 50-6 Wildcats this weekend.
Yeah, that was not surprising to me or our coaches, after playing them, but good for Coach Talley. I don't know how many more years he has left, but I hope he can finish with a bang because he's done such a great job there. And you're right, going to Ithaca was great. Got to see my son, take him out to dinner. Didn't really tailgate. We kind of pretended like we were tailgating. But I was decked out in Ithaca colors, and being a father for a few hours at a college football game was a lot of fun for me.
All right, so the Bombers are off to a 1-0 start, as is your team, and we'll talk about that certainly for the majority of our regular Monday visit here. Speaking of scoreboard watching and games to watch, Central Michigan left no doubt at Purdue. That was an impressive 38-17 victory, and they ran it right down the middle if they wanted to.
They sure did. They did a great job. Coach Enos has those kids playing extremely well, and you look across the board, Mid-American Conference football, obviously I was a big part of that for a lot of years. And, Northwestern got beat by Northern Illinois. I mean, you go across the board, that conference, Ball State came up just a little bit short to Iowa, and the job Central Michigan did against a Big Ten school in Purdue was extremely impressive.
This is a story, given your time in the MAC, that can't be unfamiliar to you. Thomas Rawls, he grows up in Flint. Who's his hero? Mike Hart from down the road here in Onondaga High School, who was the stud running back at Michigan.
That's right.
He always wanted to go to Michigan, just didn't work out numbers-wise. He got 3 carries last year for the Wolverines, and now he's a stud for the Chippewas.
Yeah, and what a great opportunity for a kid that loves the game, and he plays it with great passion. He runs the ball extremely hard. He'll be physical. He'll run through you. Reminds me of Jerome Smith when Jerome was playing for us last year. So we'll have a great task in front of us, and we're really looking forward to getting back on the field.
This is a Central Michigan team that's calling card coming into the year, bringing back really 11 starters on offense. Now they've had to move some around a little bit because of the addition of Rawls.
Right.
That moves their previous #1 running back down a notch in a punt return. And they bring back Titus Davis, 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns receiving last year, but some question about him with his knee injury.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, it sounds like he's got a little knee injury, so we don't know if he'll be back or not. We have to prepare as if he will be. But like you said, anytime you have all your starters back, what a great advantage that is for your offensive play caller. And I know Coach Enos is heavily involved with running that offense and does a great job. So, they're sky high right now. We're going to have to go into Mount Pleasant and get after them.
Tell us about Mount Pleasant.
Well, Mount Pleasant, there's not a lot up there. I think the kids can focus on football because there's not a lot of distractions. But the one thing about Mount Pleasant is you're always going to get yourself in a situation where they play hard, physical football. And that's what you see on tape. They're good tackling defense. They run the ball and they block the power, the ISO. They run a lead draw at the middle linebacker versus a look like us. And they know what they're doing. And it almost looks like old George Perlis football at Michigan State. And as you know, Dan Enos was his quarterback. So a lot of similarities, and we'll have our hands full. But going to Mount Pleasant is they'll be sky high, and they always have good student involvement. So it'll be a good atmosphere for our kids, and small locker room. We got to get ourselves visually ready for what it's gonna look like and feel like. The biggest thing for me is I just want to see our kids come out and play the type of football that we expect. Because as you know, I was disappointed with the way we played, and that starts with me. I just want to turn on the tape after the game and say that looks like Syracuse football again.
And will maybe a reshuffling or a rejuvenating of your offensive line help there, because you were without a couple key players, or at least 2 out of position in that first Friday night?
Yeah, it definitely will. Anytime you go into a home opener, without 2 of your 2 starting guards out, made it difficult, but it forced us to adjust to the situation. And we got some valuable playing time moving Michael Lasker down. But hopefully Omari and Nick will both be back for this game and ready to go. We'll see how they move around on Tuesday at practice when we put the pads on. So hopefully we'll be intact there, but if we're not, the next man up's got to go in there and do his job, and same thing with Terrell missing the better part of that game against Villanova. Now he's back, learned his lesson, made a mistake that really hurt our team and it's good to see those guys back on the field together.
Central Michigan's defense really creating the early lead for them against Purdue. They bring back the top returning tackler in the conference and top returning TFL guy. Just quickly, because you and so many of the people on your staff have experience at Western Michigan, Northern Illinois, what does that count for? You talk about the locker room, just knowing some of those things that I know you're trying to take out the unknowns in football. You've got that going for you this week.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're a talented defense because they play as 11 guys. They've created a ton of turnovers already, 7, 8 turnovers, maybe 7 interceptions and a fumble or 2. And that's, top of the country right now. So we got to do a good job taking care of the ball, and we got to get turnovers ourselves. That's the thing they've done well. But not being familiar with the environment will be something that we need to do a good job as coaches, painting that picture to the kids so when they walk in there, they say, yep, this is what Coach said it was going to be, and then go out and play football.
All right, last thing for this week, Coach, getting ready for a road game, the first of the year, is sort of an update on somebody that's not in the mix currently, but you've got some news on Alan Edouard.
Yeah, Alan Edouard, he and his family decided they felt it was in his best interest to enroll in school in January at the mid-year. And like I've been saying all along, whatever was in the best interest of Alan and his family. So we're excited about the fact that that's what he wants to do. And it'll give him a chance to still be a freshman, still have 4 years eligibility. But what Alan will get to do is he'll get to practice in spring ball, summer ball, and then get started. And it'll create a little natural separation between he and the other freshmen that are on the team now that will now be sophomores.
Okay, so he's been dealing with some personal stuff at the start of this year. He'll be ready to go come the winter semester. We appreciate it, Shafe, and wish you the best as you're our guide up into Mac country, up into Central Michigan this week.
Thanks, Matt.